Welcome. So this video is really going to talk about the pathway to teaching. What do you need to become a teacher? How much are you going to make? Where are the jobs? Things like that. So I'm going to talk to you specifically about how to become a teacher here in Hawaii, as well as what we offer at the University of Hawaii at Manoa that can get you there. So if you're considering a career in teaching, the first thing to know is that you will need to go to college and you will need to get a degree. So all teachers in the state have to have a bachelor's degree or higher. And so in terms of becoming a teacher, you can go to college to get your bachelor's in education with a teaching certification so that you can teach as soon as you graduate. Otherwise, let's say you want to major in something else like biology or math or journalism, and then you decide afterwards, hey, you know what, I really want to teach that. Then you can always come back to school again and pursue either a post-baccalaureate certificate or a master's degree. But just know that, yes, you do have to go to college and you do have to get a degree in order to become a teacher. And then if you're thinking about becoming a teacher, one thing to think about is the age range of the students that you would want to teach. We offer at UH Manoa 3 different licensure levels. So if you're really interested in working with the young students, maybe in preschool, then you would be looking at an early childhood license. Otherwise, if you just like working with younger students, you can work at the elementary licensure level, which will cover kindergartens to sixth. Otherwise, you can work with older students. So talking about secondary, which would cover your middle and high schools. And then when you think about the age group that you want to teach, then you should also think about, well, what's the content or what's the subject that you want to teach? Preschool and elementary is kind of its own subject. You're teaching a little bit of everything. But once you get into secondary, especially, you're going to want to think about a certain area that you want to teach. For example, maybe you want to be a math teacher or you want to be a social studies teacher. We also have other fields such as health and physical education. And another one that you can consider is special education if you want to teach students with disabilities. And then the last thing to consider if you are going to pursue this pathway to getting your degree and becoming a teacher is at UH Manoa, a lot of people don't realize that, yes, you can come to UH Manoa and get your degree with us on the campus, but we also have some what we call hybrid statewide programs, which can actually be completed from any island in the state. So let's say you're from Maui and you don't want to leave Maui to go to school. Well, it's fine. You can actually pursue your degree and your teaching certification through one of our programs and stay on Maui the whole time. So keep that in mind. There are options, either where you come to UH Manoa's campus on Oahu, or you can stay on any of the islands in the state. And when it comes to all the licensure programs available in Hawaii to become a teacher, we have about 10 different institutions available that will offer teacher certification programs. UH Manoa has always been the largest producer of new teachers each year. And so the graph that you see on this screen is just showing each year where the graduates were that the DOE hired. And so you'll see that they're hiring from tons of programs in the state. We always need more teachers, and so there's always space for you at these programs. And what are some of the perks? One of the best things about teaching is the fact that you can teach anywhere and you can teach everywhere. Everywhere needs teachers. So Hawaii, but also if you're ever thinking, well, maybe you want to move to another state or even another country. I mean, you're always going to need teachers, but we do have an agreement, a reciprocity agreement between Hawaii and all the other states in the United States, which basically says if you get licensed to teach in Hawaii and then you move somewhere else, you can take your teaching license with you. And it might be you have to fill out some paperwork, you might, have to take maybe a test in that state or something, but you wouldn't have to go through another degree and get another bachelor's degree for teaching. At that point, you already have your license, you can go and teach anywhere in the country. Another thing is, let's say you start out in teaching math and then you realize later on that you want to teach science. Well, there's nothing stopping you from being able to teach both. So what's great about a teaching degree and being licensed is that you can add other licenses to your field once you become a teacher. And so you don't have to stick to just one thing. Maybe you're interested in lots of things. Well, why not get certified to teach in all sorts of things that you want to teach? And then the last thing I want to talk about in terms of perks is a lot of people don't realize there are really great advancement opportunities as teachers. So even if you hear, well, teachers don't go into the profession to make money, we do it because of the love of our job and we want to have an impact on students. You can make more money over time through different kinds of advancement opportunities. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So you can guarantee that if you take the time and you want to become a teacher and you go to school and you come to college and you get your degree to become a teacher, there are jobs for you. So you don't have to worry about wasting your time and money on a degree that's not going to get you anywhere. Hawaii alone hires around 1,288 new teachers every single year. On all islands, in every complex area, we're always needing teachers. And so you can just know that there is a good high demand for it. So if you take the time and this is something you want to do, just know that there are employment options out there for you. And so I wanted to just share a little bit about, well, what are the skills? Like, what makes a really good teacher? Yes, you need to be knowledgeable in the area that you're trying to teach, but you also have to be really creative. Gone are the days where teachers just stand at the front of a room and just lecture the whole time. It's teaching has become a really creative outlet where you're trying to take real life problems and situations and blend it together with technology and just creative outlets for looking at how are you going to get your students to be able to understand these concepts. And so if you're a really creative person and you're good with technology, becoming a teacher nowadays is a really good career that'll kind of be able to use all those different skills. Other skills that you would think about needing is definitely organization skills, communication skills, and collaboration skills, because you're going to be working with all sorts of people. You have to be able to communicate not only with your students, but with the families and other educators and people within the educational system. So there's a lot of great skills that you're going to want to develop if you do want to become a really great teacher. And so where are they hiring? This graph will show you the number of people they hired in different fields. And so at the elementary school level, it's definitely mostly elementary positions followed by special education positions. But then when you get to the secondary level, it's much more spread out. And there's a lot of different kinds of positions that you can get hired in to teach. The most common, as I mentioned before, was English, math, science, and social studies. Special education and world languages are kind of like high need fields, but there's tons of other fields that you can teach. I listed them on the screen, including art, career technical education. You could be a counselor. You can be an English language learner teacher. You could work in Hawaiian immersion, health, music, physical education, even ROTC. So lots of options out there that are available to teach. And since it's such a high field that we're always needing teachers for, the greatest thing is there's tons of money available to get you through college. I know a lot of kids nowadays, they're really worried about going to college because they know it's expensive. The great thing about teaching is if you want to teach, there are so many funding opportunities available to you to help pay for your college. An example of that is, all students, regardless of what your major is, always complete your financial aid packet, otherwise known as your FAFSA. You never know what kinds of money and grants and opportunities will be available to you. But specifically in education, we have some really cool ones that we can add to that. So one of them is called the Teach Grant. So you can get up to $8,000 if you can commit to teaching for 4 years after you graduate. We have something called Federal Teacher Loan Forgiveness, which will give you up to $17,500 if you teach for up to 5 years. Public Loan Service Forgiveness is another one where if you make payments on your college financial aid for 10 years, so if you make 120 payments, they'll wipe out the rest of your loans. So lots of money to take advantage of there so you can go back to college. On top of that, there's tons of scholarships, whether it's at the UH system, but we have a ton just within our own College of Education. And then we have some special funding sources called Grow Our Own Stipends and Special Education Stipends, which is basically they'll pay the tuition if you get licensed in these high need fields. So special education has always been a high need field. So sometimes it'll cover most, if not all, of your tuition costs for that licensure program. And then Grow Our Own would be looking at, we need more math teachers, we need more science teachers, more English teachers, and world language teachers. So if you're interested in any of those, you get even more funding opportunities as you pursue your teaching certification. And there's more than one way to come into the teaching certification programs. You could start at a community college. We have something called a Ka'ie'ie transfer program, where if you go to any of the Hawaii community colleges listed below, we actually have partnerships with them at UH where you can transfer seamlessly. Go get your associate's degree first, community college, and then come to UH Manoa and get your teaching license with your bachelor's degree. So that's another cost-effective way to get started on your career where you can still go to college. We also have, what's great is a lot of our bachelor's degrees in education for licensure are dual certification options. So not only is it a 2-for-1 where you're getting your bachelor's degree and your teaching certificate, you can often get your bachelor's degree and 2 teaching certificates, which means we will license you in 2 things at the same time. So maybe you want to do elementary and special education, or maybe you want to do elementary and early childhood, or maybe you want to be a math and a science teacher. Dual certifications are a great way to get 2 licenses in the same amount of time. So you can always inquire about that. And lastly, let's say you're unsure and you've been curious about teaching, but yet you're not really ready to say, I'm going to become a teacher. At UH Manoa, we have a minor in education, which means you can just kind of test it out, take a couple courses, and if you really like it, you can become a substitute teacher after you graduate. So lots of options available to you. Now, how much are you going to make? This is one of the most important questions as you're thinking about what your career path you want to take. The graph on the screen is taken from the Hawaii P20 that tracks students from when they're getting their degrees and into the workforce. And according to their data, someone who graduates with a bachelor's degree at the University of Hawaii at Manoa in any field, so these are all graduates, starting salary in their first year is an average of $27,608 a year. If you become a teacher, your starting teacher salary is $49,100. That's just to start. So your first year, you'd be almost making double what the average salary is of all majors at the university. And what a lot of people don't realize, because sometimes you hear that teachers don't make very much, there are advancement opportunities to make more money over time. And currently, the teacher salary goes all the way up to almost $92,000. So there are some teachers who are making $92,000 a year. And again, what's great about teaching that's very different than other career options is you're working 10 months out of the year. You still get your summer breaks. A lot of other jobs and careers do not give that much time off. You're not going to, some careers, they only give you 2 weeks a year. But when you're a teacher, you get the same breaks as the students do. And so you have, it's just a very quality lifestyle, right? Because you can travel in the summers and you can do other things just as you normally would as a student. So salary-wise, teaching, yes, teachers do deserve more. They work really hard, and so they've been fighting for that. But at the end of the day, their salary is really good in comparison to other career options in the state. And so I just want to end with, one of the quotes that we use here in the College of Education is to teach what you love and love what you teach. It is a career that's close to your heart, and usually you're very passionate about it if you go into teaching. And so I just wanted to say, if any of these apply to you, then maybe you should consider pursuing a career in teaching. And that would be if you really enjoy being with children, or if you just enjoy helping others. So maybe they're your friends or even adults or family members. If you're the type of person that gravitates to helping other people, then you might really enjoy teaching. If you know that you want to make a difference, so if you know you want a job where you know that the work that you do matters and that it impacts somebody, then teaching's a really good career field for you. If you're really passionate about something or really knowledgeable about something, maybe it's computer science or maybe it's art, then sometimes you can take that passion and then you can teach it. And then you can inspire other people to be as passionate about whatever you're passionate about. If you're really good at taking complex ideas and tasks and breaking it down into things that are a little bit smaller and easier to understand, that's a skill that teachers really need to be able to do, because when a student doesn't get it, you have to try it again. And sometimes it's a matter of that problem solving, of taking something that's a little bit more complex and trying to present it in a way that's going to be more understandable. So if you're good at stuff like that, then teaching is definitely a good career fit for you. Also know that no 2 days are the same in teaching. You're not going to be at a desk where it looks the same and the years just go by and everything feels the same. When you're a teacher, every day, not only is every day different, but every year is special, because that year you have a certain group of students that you're working with and you're always going to remember it because it's just a unique experience. So teaching can keep you really young and keep you just excited because of the fact that it's never going to get boring. You'll always have new students, you'll always be growing. And that kind of goes to the last thing. As teachers, we ourselves love to learn and grow. And so if you're the type of person who's constantly trying to learn more, and is interested in new things, then, as teachers, we're constantly trying to learn more about our specialization area. And so again, if any of these apply to you, or you're thinking that teaching might be a great fit for you, then I definitely would recommend looking into it.